Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, starring award-winning real estate coaches and #1 international best-selling authors, Tim and Julie Harris. This is the #1 daily radio show for realtors looking for a no BS, authentic, real-time coaching experience. What's really working in today's market, how to generate more leads, make more money, and have more time for what you love in your life. And now your hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
Welcome to day 2, how to bank $100,000 in the next 100 days. And remember to go back and listen to day 1. That was yesterday's podcast. Thanks for all the great feedback on yesterday's show. It was something that we really enjoyed doing. This is a plan for everyone, no matter where you are in your career. And as I said yesterday at the start of yesterday's show, if $100,000 for you in the next 100 days is no big challenge, then, obviously scale it up, make it $1 million, make it whatever is appropriate to you. The point is, and we made this very clear yesterday, is we want you building momentum right now, not becoming complacent, not essentially letting the time go by and because you're paying attention to the news, because you're focused on the wrong things and all the other things that we talked about yesterday. So today we're going to be getting into the weeds as far as specific actions that all of you can take. And I want you to make note, the actions that we're going to ask you to take don't cost you anything. They cost you no money. We're not trying to sell you leads or a fancy lead follow-up program or a drip campaign or a direct mail campaign. Every single thing we're asking you to do, remember the title of today's podcast, is how to make $100,000 in the next 100 days. In other words, we can't ask you to do anything that's not going to result in you generating a closing and money in the next 100 days, or it wouldn't fit into the title of today's podcast. So there's no speculative stuff. Everything is going to be, proactive lead generation, no passive lead generation. So Julie?
Yes, that's right. So again, this is part 2, and today, tomorrow, and the next day, we're going to give you 5 proven lead generators each day. Now, the idea is not to pick and choose. It is to do nearly all of the above. There may be 2 or 3 that just aren't in your wheelhouse, or maybe you've already got them deployed and you need to add on. So there's ways that you can work with this plan. Some of you, your average commission is a lot higher, so adjust accordingly. Some of you pretty much have this down, but you're going to compress the time. Instead of in 100 days, maybe you make this in 60 days because you know how to do some of this.
Before you get to your first point, Julie, everyone who is currently in Premier Coaching clients, I have an update for you. The pre-listing pack is getting updated, and we now have a, frankly, reliable service provider that can customize your pre-listing pack for you. So if you've been waiting to get your pre-listing pack done, the wait is over. What is a pre-listing pack? The pre-listing pack is essentially your silent salesperson. You send it prior to going on listing appointments, and the pre-listing pack, when you use it as we've coached you to use it, will do 90% of the heavy lifting for you when it comes time to winning that listing. So existing Premier Coaching clients, make sure you're utilizing the pre-listing pack. And like I said, if you want to have it customized, there's a new service that we're making available to you to get that done as well. In addition to that, Julie and I are going to be rolling out an all-new product exclusively for Premier Coaching clients. And it's going to be essentially, do we have a name for this thing yet?
It's kind of a pre-buyer appointment packet, but we don't have the acronym worked out just yet.
Pre-buyer.
PBP, maybe. I don't know.
Pre-buyer.
Sounds too much like PB&J.
PBA, right?
Yes, something
appointment?
like that.
Yeah,
yes,
something like that.
But it's like a pre-listing package that goes before you, handles objections, talks about your unique sales propositions. But on the buyer side, since now all of you have the pressure of a looming deadline that you're going to have real agreements signed, which means you have to do a real presentation. We're going to cover you on that.
Yep.
That is in production.
Well, so the point of it is, to Julie's point, just so you're clear, is you give the pre-listing pack to sellers prior to the appointment after you pre-qualified them. They read the pre-listing pack, all the heavy lift as far as like, what's your commission? What are you going to do to get the home sold? What's all those types of questions are answered in the pre-listing pack. And that same concept is going to be now working for you for the sake of working with buyers, because obviously buyer relationships going forward after August 17th are going to have the same level of formality that working with the seller is going to. You have an exclusive listing contract with a seller, you're going to have an exclusive buyer contract with a buyer. All good for those of you who are serious about your real estate businesses. So if you're not in Premier Coaching, you know what to do. Join Premier Coaching. The first 30 days is free, and you could join Premier Coaching by scrolling down below and clicking the link to join Premier Coaching, or you can just go to premiercoaching.com. Remember, the first 30 days is free, and that does include a daily semi-private coaching call.
All right, so remember, you're focused mainly on listings here with this plan because listings will automatically create buyers for you. Work with the buyers yourself and pre-qualify them, or refer them to referral partner agents, depending on your situation. All right, on to the lead generation. Of course, number one is your past clients and sphere of influence, otherwise known as your database. Statistically, when you have regular and real conversations with your list, 10% of your list will either do business with you or refer business to you each and every year. What would happen if you committed to speaking with 100% of the people in your database this quarter? Now, don't get mad when another agent lists, quote, your past client if you're not going to make the effort. There's a little of accountability baked in there. And of course, scripts for making these calls, as well as your 12-month Center of Influence plan, are all included in Premier Coaching. Now,
can we work on this a little bit?
Yes, I have two points to work on
Sorry.
it here, just for a second. That's okay. So when we talk about your past clients, your sphere of influence, these are people who already know, love, and trust you. They're in your database. There's two parts to this. How many people in your database actually know what their home is worth in today's market? I know we're always astonished when we look up our own rental properties, right? It's your job to let them know. If they knew that they could get X for their home, netting them Y, well, what would that do to their plans? Maybe that warrants a call. And secondly, how many people in your database are inheriting property they need to sell, relocating, becoming empty nesters, having another baby? How many of them are first-time buyers or have first-time buyer kids ready to pounce on the newest inventory? And just to drive this home that you all can do this, this is straight from coaching client Patrick Murphy in Columbus, Ohio. He writes, I have about 125 clients from over the last 3 years. Now, that's his database, right? Those are not, quote, leads. Those are contacts in his database. After listening to you and Tim mention a few times that those would be the best calls to make, I put serious effort into this a couple of weeks ago. I simply created a Google Sheet with all the clients listed out, and then a way to track each as I made contact. This is not a text or an email, as I usually do with my clientele, but an actual phone call.
I want to stop there. I want to point something out. He did not waste time and months trying to figure out the best CRM.
Exactly.
He just essentially put them all on a list. You could have used a yellow tablet of paper or, any kind of pad, right?
He used a Google Sheet. That's free.
Exactly. So you don't need to overthink this and build some complicated drip campaign. And he also, before Julie gets to the next part, he also confessed that he hadn't been doing the calls prior, that he'd been doing all the passive stuff, and now you're going to hear the difference between being passive and proactive.
I know, and it was so, he turned this into an email. He told me this on a coaching call, and I have to say he was super excited about it. He goes on to write, this is Patrick Murphy, goes on to write, these are the best calls to make. They actually want to hear from you. They're happy to hear from you, and they share information and leads way more than they would have via text or replying to an email. I'm learning about job changes, family changes, etc. Just today, a client mentioned he's ready to start looking for investment properties. I'm not sure if he would have reached out to me to tell me that using email or text. I try to bring some value to the call in terms of helping with any contractor connections or getting them up-to-date home valuations. But honestly, I don't think they're looking for too much more than just catching up. If you think about it, we spend at least 5 to 6 weeks together. Again, we're talking about his past clients, and we built a relationship. So it's a very natural thing for this group to want to chat with me. I plan on doing this each quarter, even as the list grows. Again, from Patrick Murphy in Columbus, Ohio.
All right, so Patrick, I'm going to give you a little advanced coaching here because I know you listen to the show and you're one of Julie's clients. Don't call them every quarter. That's crazy. Call them every single month and do what we coach you to do in Premier Coaching every single month. So basically, Patrick, this is the condensing of the script. Hey, Patrick, this is Tim Harris. Do you have a second? And you're going to say yes. This is me calling you, right? So listen, Patrick, I've been getting a lot of calls, emails, texts from folks that are frankly worried about the housing market. They don't know what's going on at their home's value. So what I'm going to do, so you don't have to worry, is I'm going to start calling you every single month and giving you a quick snapshot of what's going on in your home's value. Like I said, that way you don't have to worry. And I've got your first report ready for you now, and I think you're going to love the good news I'm about to share with you. And you're going to say, Patrick, you're going to say, what? Yes, of course. What do you have for me? Well, Patrick, you paid this for your house 2 years ago, and it's now worth this. And if you were to, essentially put the house on the market now, we'd expect it to sell in this amount of time. So go you. You made a great decision 2 years ago. Congratulations. And then, Patrick, you're going to say something along the lines of, wow, that's great. That's fantastic. And then who knows where the conversation is going to spin off to, but probably you're going to be having more real estate conversations as a result of making this person feel really good. Wherever the conversation goes, let this, your past client, center of influence person take you there. And then end the call with, by the way, Patrick, would you like me to do more in-depth study of your home's value in case you're thinking about selling it sometime this year? And maybe, Patrick, you say, well, you know what? It is funny. I was thinking about selling it. Or you might say, you know what? You don't have to do that. And, whatever the answer is, and this is what I'm going to say next. All right, Patrick, perfect. Well, I'll give you a call at the same time next month, and I'll give you another quick snapshot. It's my pleasure to do so. Oh, and by the way, before I let you go, who do you know is thinking about buying or selling real estate that I should be helping in this market? Right? Now, here's what's going to happen. You're going to be thrilled to have had that call, Patrick, because I just gave you a lot of really great news and I made you feel wonderful, right? True story. Now, you're not necessarily going to have any interest in selling your house, nor will you have any referrals from me. But when you see that I follow up with you every single month, as I promised I would, always making you feel good because of what's going on in your home's value, you will start, using an old term, bird dogging for me and start, almost intentionally finding referrals for me. You're going to start dialing, Patrick, you're not the agent now, you're Patrick the homeowner. You're going to start listening more to have people thinking about buying or selling. You're going to start registering those people more in your mind. You're going to start asking if they would like a great referral, that type of thing. And that's what happens. So you can't just call people once a quarter and think you're going to get anything from it. Call them once every single month. Now, they might not answer the phone. That's fine. Leave the message about how smart they were to buy their house, because they were, on their voicemails. Do not hit the easy button and digitize what I just said. That would be stupid. Call them, have conversations, right? All of you should be doing exactly what I just prescribed.
It's less than 10 calls a day if you work the 20 work days of every month. And
yeah,
everybody can do that.
Honestly, it's astonishing to me that people that are supposedly coaches and trainers will tell agents to call once a quarter and then mail them some piece of crap every single month.
I know.
Honestly, I find that so... It's malpractice.
It is.
Because the calls don't take that long. They make you feel good because you're making other people feel good. And what's going to happen is the sellers, the owners, are going to start sending you referrals.
Yes. I mean, look at Patrick's feedback after doing it just 2 weeks. They were excited to chat with him. It was not a big deal. It was not a stressful thing. They already know, love, and trust you. You just spent 5 or 6 weeks with them not too long ago. So make the calls.
And Patrick, here's a little, if you're calling people and you're not getting a lot of contacts, and I've been doing this, for a long time, and some of you will call intentionally so you can just leave voicemails. Oh, yes, I know that little trick. So what I want you to do is call Saturday morning. Call when people are actually going to be home. Right? Make the calls where you're going to make the contacts. Don't call it a job done if you did not do it well. Remember, if you want ever increasing levels of success in your business and personal life, do what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level. It's not enough just to make the calls and leave the voicemails, or even worse, do something digital. And don't be then surprised if you don't get the results. Now, the thing I was going to interject into this first point is if you're a new agent, you don't have a bunch of past clients.
True.
You do, and let's say you don't even have a bunch of centers of influence, go out there and create one.
Yes.
And create one. And we've had a billion podcasts on that.
We have had many podcasts on it, and we do drill down for sure in Premier Coaching about exactly how to go about expanding your center of influence. And if you're somebody that's like, gosh, I don't feel that friendly, I'm not that confident talking about real estate. Well, there's only one way that you're going to turn that around, and that's to systematically go after it. You can get help from your coaches. We've done podcasts about introverts and extroverts and all the rest, but we do have a 12-month Center of Influence expansion plan as well to help you with all this.
Well, I mean, the point is go out, be you, doing what you like to do around other people that also like to do the same thing, and you're going to trip over people that want to buy or sell real estate. That's just the nature of humans. So if you like to work out, go to the gym. If you like to spend time with animals, go to the dog park. You guys get it? But don't just hang around your computer and wait for somebody to sell you a lead where you're going to pay 40% for the referral. Get off your butts.
Yeah, see, here's the thing. Just having a database doesn't generate from your database. You have to do something with it. All right, point number 2, expired listings. Now, expireds are near the top of our list because of the following. Stay with me, listeners. There's 4 specific things about expireds. First, they clearly want to sell, and many of them have to sell. These are the listings you're looking for. There's been a big increase in expireds recently since most agents had 2 short listing agreements in anticipation of the hot sellers market continuing. Aspirational pricing and competition from new construction have created more and more expireds and withdrawn listings.
I have to build on that because what Julie just said is so powerful, but I bet it got by most of you. All right, so our podcasts get listened to months and years into the future, but I'm going to date today's podcast. We're about mid-year 2024. And I promise you, all of you listening right now, towards the end of this year, probably the end of third quarter into fourth quarter, we're going to see a tsunami of expired listings. And I'm going to tell you why. And I'll give you guys some cheat codes for this. Around Halloween, there's going to be a ton of expireds. And certainly into November and December, there's going to be a lot of expireds. There's going to be a lot of expireds because the agents that took the listings didn't position them correctly in the market, and they didn't have the skill set to get the prices down. And a lot of the sellers are obviously going to say, well, we'll just take the house off the market into the spring. The listing agent might even suggest that. These types of conversations happen in third and the fourth quarter. You need to get ready for that. Get your expired skill set up, because that's when you can build your inventory of these expired and withdrawn listings going into the following year. That is something that if you take seriously, you will thank me for the rest of your life, especially starting next spring when you have a bunch of listings.
Yes, and there's such an art to working with expireds. There's lots of different directions you can go. Let's say you wanted to double your average sale price. Expireds is an obvious way to do that. We did that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and remember, old expireds, go back, all kinds of expireds. And I don't want to make this podcast about it. If Julie and I are to get back in the business, I promise you right now, what we would do is do expired listings, and we would do centers of influence and past client stuff, and probably wouldn't really have to do much else.
No, and we would do it in a systematic, intentional way, not just working on luck and hopium.
That's right. And all this information and training on how to go after expireds, our scripts, our objection handlers, our systems, all the lead sources, they're all available on Premier Coaching.
All right, so staying on expireds, the second reason that we love expireds, you know what is probably the wrong price? Your comparative market analysis is much easier on an expired listing. Now, in a hot seller's market, and it's not as hot as it used to be, but it's still a seller's market in most of the country. Texas and Florida are starting to switch the other direction. But even so, you have more direction on pricing, and you've also got some feedback, right? So the next thing we love about expireds is the agent that you would have competed against, the one that the seller thought would get the job done, who they probably already knew, is now out of the picture in most cases.
So the center of influence past client agent, the one they knew, from just social reasons mostly. That's generally speaking who most sellers list with. That's the reason the first thing we told you to do is call your centers of influence and past clients. So those are going to be the ones that are no longer going to be in the picture because they failed to sell the house, and your biggest competitor is out of the picture. That said, your biggest competitor when you're prospecting expired listings is the previous listing agent.
Yes, although I'd say that's probably 50-50. Sometimes the seller has turned on them, or maybe the agent has just retired. There's lots of different reasons that we talk about in Premier. Okay, so last but not least, the seller will generally correct negative feedback and reprice the home in most cases, creating a quick sale. The average number of days on the market for relisted expireds is always very low. The sellers of expireds will usually do stuff for the next agent that they wouldn't do for the previous agent or their first agent.
I'm anxious to get to point number 3 because I just read a statistic right before the start of this podcast. I sent you the article. I don't know if you had a chance to read it.
I haven't read it yet. But
a third of all home sales right now are new construction.
Which is point number 3. So hold on to that just for a second. So we're talking lead generation. Point number 3, new build salespeople. There are salespeople who sit in the builder's model homes. They write up all those new construction contracts. Use our new construction plan if you're a Premier Coaching member to meet those new build reps and get all of their, wait for it, resale referrals. They don't list those. When somebody builds with the new construction, with the builder, and they talk to the rep, and they have the home to sell, what happens to that lead? This is a fantastic lead source because you can have one new build salesperson contact who sends you multiple leads yearly, monthly, quarterly. What if you had 5 new build salespeople relationships? Most of our coaches have worked this very successfly, and they've got a steady stream of resale. So there you have it.
Well, again, and here's another thing. Again, I'm forcing myself not to go down these rabbit holes because we've done so many podcasts on new build, new construction. Mm-hmm. It's actually kind of a niche that we've coached agents to really become new build experts. And again, big part of Premier Coaching. But here's the thing. A third of all sales right now are new construction.
Yep.
And I bet you guys don't realize that most of the time the person building the new home also has a house to sell. So if you were to start, say, for example, letting folks in your center of influence past client list know about all the new construction options in the surrounding communities, you might be shocked how many of them would be very interested to know more. That's another great reason to call your centers of influence and past clients, letting them know about the new construction options. That trend is only going to continue. There's no reason to believe there's going to be a significant increase in resale listings. There is going to be a significant increase in new construction listings. And there's another statistic, Julie, that of all the builders, something like 10, I don't remember, I'm mixing numbers, but 10% of all new build sales were spec homes. We're
that's interesting.
We're sitting inventory homes.
That's very interesting.
and
What a honey hole of inventory.
Right. And these houses aren't in the MLS. You walk into a new construction build and you ask and you look at all the, amazing, elevations and floor plans and options and the rest of it. Ask the builder what they have as far as spec homes. It could be a completely done home that it's sometimes they call them quick close homes. Maybe another builder or buyer was in contract and fell out of contract. Doesn't matter. That is going to be where you find your inventory.
Yes. And sometimes those have bonuses on them too.
Yep. Wake up and smell the opportunity.
Exactly. All right. Now, it wouldn't be about lead generation if we didn't have number 4. Good old fashioned for sale by owners. When the market is hot like it's been for so long, there are always plenty of unrepresented owners, otherwise known as FSBOs, who need your help. Most of them give up on the process if it's not sold in the first 2 weekends. There are luxury priced, unrepresented sellers in today's market as well. This is a great opportunity because many of them have not yet bought. They could also build with you or downsize, upsize, and purchase with you. So when I look at a for sale by owner, I'm not just seeing their FSBO sign. I'm seeing at least 2, maybe 3 transactions.
And we call them unrepresented owners because that's truly what they are. We do know statistically that most for sale by owners end up listing. And we also know statistically that you can ask them if you don't believe me, that most FSBOs FSBO because of the fact they simply did not know an agent. It's not more complicated than that. And they're not agent haters. So all this Mickey Mouse that you may have basically been, here, I'll tell you guys a true story. When Julie and I started selling real estate, we sold over 100 homes our first year in the business. That's not the story that I wanted you guys to hear. Here's the story I wanted you to hear. There were 2 agents that were really good at for sale. Well, we only found out later that basically FSBOs were their honey hole. And so what they told us were all the reasons why FSBOs eat their young. They would fill our heads with why for sale by owners are the worst people ever. How they go to like the Church of Satan and basically hate agents.
Awful, evil people.
All this stuff, right? And so they were telling us all these reasons not to actually go after for sale by owners.
And they're always overpriced and they're hard to communicate with and all this.
Okay, so we listened to them and we didn't do it. And then one day, one of them was, and we were in the parking lot. And one of them had a relatively new Mercedes Benz. And guess what his plate was? Dr. FSBO. Okay.
This is a true
so this
story.
guy makes millions of dollars per year. And he was amazing, by the way, working with FSBOs. And we used to go, we figured out and learned from him. He'd go into the office every night. This is back when there were real estate offices before EXP. Right. And he would sit in his room, in his office, put his feet up on his desk, and he would call for sale by owners. And Julie and I's office was right across the hall from him. And there were glass walls so we could hear what he was saying. It was hilarious. He did have a script, but he would not back down. He was so tenacious.
He was very tenacious. He was clearly very experienced.
Yes.
And I think, wasn't he doing like 100 FSBOs a year or something?
Yeah.
It was like if you dared to put a FSBO sign out, you would be momentarily getting a call from him.
Well, so Mike Perchetti, we love you. We miss you.
Out.
You are the greatest FSBO agent we ever knew of.
Yes, Dr. FSBO.
You Dr. FSBO.
Yes, and that's proof that you can do it. And by the way, many for sale by owners were first expired listings. They simply didn't know what else to do, probably because an agent like you or Dr. FSBO had not yet contacted them.
And also, FSBOs often will list because they are in contract in new construction.
That's true.
It's not going to be done for 6 months. They figure they have time to try to sell it themselves. And going back to Julie's previous point with regards to expired listings, a lot of expireds would say, we'll just overprice it, and I'm not going to remove the support mule from my house, and I know it smells like a farm, and all these things, right? So they're not going to help you with price condition. They're just going to, I got 6 months, I got 8 months, we're building a house. Well, then it doesn't sell, then it expires, and guess what? They all of a sudden become a hell of a lot more motivated as now they're facing down the barrel of closing on their new construction home. You guys get it? You got to open your minds to the opportunities that are all around you. There's no lack of inventory. There's a lack of agents that are skilled enough to know how to get the inventory.
Very well said. Yes. Number 5, open houses. Refer to our podcast, several podcasts. One was called How to Not Just Sit an Open House. I hate that phrase. I'm going to go sit an open house.
But that's a lot of agents
so
do.
lazy.
Yeah.
It's how to monetize the open house, how to systematize your open houses. Our open house system and scripts are proven to generate a bare minimum of 3 closable buyers or sellers every time, assuming you follow the system. It's all about choosing the right house, promoting the open house, using good scripts, and having relentless lead follow-up. Many of our coaching clients have spun this into a source of it's more of a predictable listing machine. If you've failed at open houses before, you're missing a key element or more of the system to make it work.
So you know Casey Anderson, right?
Yes.
Okay, she's part of our EXP family. Mm-hmm. And she's this, wonderful little dynamo. She's going to be one of the biggest names in real estate. I have no doubt in my mind. Well, I was doing an interview for her, which we're going to be releasing next month, and interview with her. And it's a Zoom, it's a video, it's a whole thing. And behind her, she had a dry erase board. You guess where she learned that from, and all the closings that she'd had and the sources of business. Every single listing was from was from an open house.
That's amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Did you hear when I was doing it with the interview?
That's awesome.
Yeah. And guess how much it was? $37 million. Over what period of time? 12 months. So month over month, she'd done $37 million in closings, all from open houses.
Guess she has it figured out.
Well, she does. But, we ended up making the interview about as we talked about, I asked her what she was doing, and she was doing it. She was only maximizing, even with those results, her her open houses by like 50%. So I told her about the tour of homes. I told her about other things you could do to even get more traffic and to essentially generate more listings. And so it was a fun interview.
I can't wait to hear that interview. I just did some flybys, so that's great. And she's living proof that the open house system does work, and I can't wait to hear when she probably doubles that. That's
open
awesome.
houses work because the best buyers are always driving the streets and the neighborhoods where the open houses are. And the most crappiest leads by far are the internet leads. Those are the looky-loos, especially people that are filling out forms. They're just sort of maybe interested. And then you call them and you wonder why they don't transact. It's because they probably couldn't even, they're not qualified, not motivated, all these different things. But what happens is when somebody is motivated, when they are qualified, before they actually choose an agent, they focus in on where they want to live, what city, what town, what neighborhood, what community, maybe even what streets, what style of home, and then they drive the neighborhoods. They know that the new listings do not hit the MLS in most markets, right away. So they have to drive through the open houses, or they're driving through the neighborhood that they want to live in all the damn time. Didn't you do that, dear listener, before you bought a house? You're wanting to know what the neighborhood feels like. So you're really going through it. And then she, does an open house. They meander into the open house. And sure enough, they're ready to buy. And most buyers, most sellers, most humans work with their first agent. They meet. Now, meet is not a digital form of communication. Meet is not, a lead you got from Zillow. Meet is, face to face. Because there's a human bond that happens when you have a little bit of skill, know how to say it. You're a professional. That person's going to stick by you. You guys following us on all of this? Do you notice the recurring theme about today's podcast, about this series? It's about taking action because after all, you want to know how to make at least $100,000 in the next 100 days. Hopefully we're motivating you. Hopefully we're educating you. I know we're doing that. Now it's time for you to get into action. So take action. Join Premier Coaching. The link is down below, or you can simply go to premiercoaching.com. Tomorrow is day 3, so get ready to take more notes. And by the way, if you want the notes from today's podcast, you know what to do. You can subscribe to our Harris Real Estate Daily newsletter. HarrisRealEstateDaily.com is the only place where our notes from the podcasts are living now. So just go to HarrisRealEstateDaily.com and you can download all the notes as well as these exclusive interviews like I just told you about with Casey. HarrisRealEstateDaily.com is our daily newsletter of all the latest real estate information as relates to our coaching clients. Have a fantastic day. We'll talk to you on the show tomorrow.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.